Now this is a pursuit. What we are looking at is live pictures with SkyCal right there. That vehicle you see, that box truck described as a stolen vehicle. It's on PCH right now, I believe, in the Santa Monica area heading north. LAPD just turned on the lights and sirens and went into pursuit of this vehicle about 30 seconds ago. They were in what's called tracking mode, where they were just following it with the helicopter. But now this driver, they describe it as just one person inside of this box truck, went into the wrong lanes of traffic as LAPD patrol units were coming up from behind. We saw them turn their lights and sirens on, and that's when this pursuit started in sort of a more official capacity. Now, this pursuit, they started following this box truck on the 405. It went down onto the 10, ended up here in Santa Monica, and is now progressing north on PCH. The only information we have from the LAPD is that this was described as a stolen vehicle. We're not sure if it was stolen as part of a carjacking or if it was taken when it was parked, but they do say there is just one driver inside, and just a few minutes ago was doing some very reckless moves by going onto oncoming traffic, but instead now is just driving apparently on the northbound lanes of PCH. A little bit of weaving, and the speed is not excessive, but this is a pretty tight highway. Anybody that has driven here in the Pacific Palisades area knows that there is not a lot of room to maneuver, and there is no center median here to stop anyone from going into oncoming lanes of traffic. Now, LAPD units have backed off. Again, they may go back into tracking mode. You can see how far back they are, about a quarter of a mile back. It's difficult to tell if they have their lights and sirens on, but there is definitely an LAPD airship overhead that is got an air commander in it that is following this pursuit as it goes along. Now, Kalina, as we keep watching this pursuit, I can tell you that so far there is no evidence that the driver is armed or has anything dangerous weapons in the car, but they are continuing here on the northbound PCH, now heading basically into the Malibu area. And here you can see we're crossing Sunset right through this intersection here, really without any regard to the traffic that's around them. Now, LAPD units continue to follow at a distance here, but the air unit is overhead along with several media airships. So it's very clear that this driver knows that they are being followed. They certainly must have seen the LAPD patrol units behind them with the lights and sirens on. And again, very reckless driving here, going on to the side here into the mud on PCH as they head north. So clearly this driver knows that they are being tracked or chased by units behind them and the air unit overhead. And this is a very, very heavy vehicle. We see that obviously it's a moving van, a delivery van of some kind. We have no idea how much cargo is in the back, which could certainly affect the center of mass and the weight of this truck, making it more or less maneuverable. But there's really no way that this truck is a safe bet for anyone driving it at high speeds. It's not designed for that kind of a thing. And as you can see here, going right through intersections. But again, we don't see any patrol units behind this vehicle, so they may go back into tracking mode. This is something that LAPD does occasionally to try and take a little bit pressure off of the mental aspect of the driver here, maybe make them believe that they're not being chased anymore. What they want is this driver to get out of the vehicle. That is the safest option for everybody involved. They can end this pursuit quickly as soon as the driver is out. The danger comes way down when there is no longer an issue of this vehicle basically being like a missile right now. But as you can see with SkyCal, when we zoomed out, there is a bunch of traffic. So this truck now driving, squeezing on the shoulder as they're trying to get by lanes here, and another box truck coming up. I'm not sure that this truck is going to be able to squeeze by that other box truck here. So they're just basically going to try and ride along on the shoulder. Now they've got a little bit more room to maneuver. So they're going to keep going, heading northbound here, definitely into Malibu now. LAPD is the original agency that's chasing it, but we're heading into LA County Sheriff's territory. It's unclear whether or not the sheriffs are going to want to take this over or if LAPD is going to give this up. But we did see with SkyCal a few minutes ago that those patrol units are pretty far back. I wasn't able to see if they had lights and sirens on. That could make a big difference in the demeanor of this driver or whether or not they are going to be aggressive. So, Kalina, right now we just really don't have any information as to where this driver picked up this stolen vehicle, but you can see this pursuit continues into Malibu this afternoon.
Yeah, and I know you're still gathering a lot of information when it comes to this, but I'm following the tracker for Chopper right now, and you're right, you're talking about PCH and heading in the northbound direction into Malibu. We have seen a lot of closures because of the rain that we've seen over the past couple of weeks, and some of those where you can see certain cones are up because of the mudslides that we had, a lot of those lifted. However, I do have my traffic map where I put the weather overlay, and Paul's been mentioning this all morning as well, where if this driver continues to go northbound, we could actually see and potentially hit some rain in the area, which could make this extremely dangerous. Initially, when you were tracking this, it looked like about 25 miles per hour. Now we're hitting 53, 48 miles per hour. So speed is starting to change just slightly. And this, we've talked about this for so long when it comes to PCH and this stretch of the highway, which is so dangerous in and of itself. So having a pursuit like this on a roadway that's configured the way it is, and we've seen a lot of accidents over the past few years, a lot of them deadly, and then you add something like this in the factor with, of course, the rain, and a lot of people, it's 11:30 in the morning, so a lot of people could be heading out today for, their morning drive or just hitting the road. We're not seeing a lot of traffic, but you can even see as, Chopper is zooming out, the raindrops on the lens here. So I'm imagining this could be potentially extremely dangerous. Pursuits usually are. I know CHP tries to make them as not as dangerous, obviously, for the public. However, when you see maneuvers like that, where they're almost hitting the dividers in the roadway there and just going relatively fast, although it looks like they're slowing down just slightly because of that intersection. But this stretch of the roadway, Mark, you have reported so many times on crashes that we've seen here, and then obviously with the rain moving on in, which you can see that in my traffic map, but also on the lens here, it could be very, very dangerous because you have the hillside that looks like that, which is stuff that we've seen in the past with the mudslides and the rocks that fall. And then you have officers trying to pursue this driver, the stolen box truck. So it's just not a great situation for a lot of people. However, I will say it's not the morning commute. We don't have kids getting out of school right now. This is PCH, so you're not seeing any schools along this particular route itself. And you, Mark, you've been digging in to see more information. Have you learned anything more about the driver or what officers plan on doing here? Yeah, so we are listening to the LAPD coordinate now with the LA County Sheriffs. This box truck, as you had mentioned, is continuing to move northwest along PCH into LA County Sheriff's territory. Now, the LAPD ground units, the patrol cars that were behind this box truck with their lights and sirens on, have dropped back. They have turned off their lights and sirens, and LAPD has once again gone into something called tracking mode, which they will only follow this box truck with the air unit. Now, the air unit, the helicopter overhead, has been in touch with the dispatch center and has gone back and forth with a commander. Hey, do you still want me to follow this box truck? Are we contacting other law enforcement agencies to take this pursuit over? And right now, it sounds like the answer is yes. LAPD headquarters is communicating with the LA County Sheriff's Department in Malibu to get LA County Sheriff's deputies behind this pursuit in order to take this over as it is going deeper and deeper into LA County Sheriff's territory. But in the meantime, that LAPD helicopter is going to continue to follow and keep their eyes on this box truck. They are not giving it up. But the ground units, the patrol cars behind it, have backed way back. I'm not even sure if there are any following right now. They may have returned to Pacific Division. That's in the Pacific Palisades area that those ground units had originally dispatched from. So right now, this box truck driver is kind of on their own as they continue to progress westbound on PCH. They're approaching Rambla Vista here in the Agoura Hills, Malibu area at about 60 miles an hour. Kalina, as you had mentioned, we saw some dangerous driving. This is a dangerous road to go high speeds on. We've seen some very deadly crashes here in the recent past. And of course, you would also mention the rain. Rain is in the forecast. There was some rain on the lens of SkyCal. And when this box truck was trying to go around cars on the shoulder, there was mud on the shoulder. We've had so much rain in the last 3 weeks. There is still mud and sort of slick
conditions on the right side of PCH on the mountainside there. And so that mud could have affected the tires on this box truck. This box truck, not a maneuverable vehicle by any means, especially if there is a lot of cargo in the back. We don't have any information, and neither does LAPD, as to whether or not this truck is full of deliverables or if it is empty right now. That certainly is going to affect the handling and the center of mass of a vehicle like this. So this driver continues to simply drive westbound on PCH deeper and deeper into Malibu as the air unit overhead is following. But we do know that deputies from the Malibu station, LA County Sheriffs, are coordinating with the LAPD to possibly get involved here. And certainly this driver is not going to be able to get away in a vehicle like that when the LAPD helicopter is overhead, Kalina.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at our Quick Maps, which is a system that you can use to track activity throughout the area when it comes to any possible closures or any incidents along the way. And so far, if this driver continues to head in this direction, I don't have any crashes or anything like that. We did have road work through Malibu right at Latigo Canyon. However, that I believe that is lifted, but they are doing periodic closures here and there. So at one point, one lane will be closed off. The next point, all lanes will be open. So I'm not quite sure if that's going to be happening right at this moment, but you can see based on the view from our chopper overhead that the ground is saturated now. We're in an area where we are seeing the rain. It almost looks like more of a residential area compared to what we saw before with the hillside as well. Looking at the map as they continue to head in the northbound direction, I'm not really seeing any schools or anything like that. It just looks like more homes and businesses along this stretch here. You can obviously see the coast too, but it's definitely going to be extremely dangerous as they continue here. The only thing I can say, because of the 2-lane highway here, speeds have stayed pretty consistent, not going, super fast. We have 15 miles per hour, and going through that intersection there, it doesn't seem as if the driver is not abiding by any of the laws when it comes to the intersections itself. But like you said, Sheriff taking over the pursuit, but LAPD chopper is still going to stay overhead to give them this view. Now speeds are up to 53 miles per hour as this driver continues northbound. You mentioned a stolen box truck pursuit. Mark, do you have any additional information when it comes to and maybe I missed this in the beginning, where this started, how this started? I know we were in tracking mode at first. Now they're in pursuit mode, but then they backed off again, went back into tracking mode. Is there anything else that you can tell us or any additional information that you have?
Kalina, I was actually right in the middle of listening to radio traffic. I did get some information. It looks like all of the LAPD units that were behind, that were in pursuit of this truck, have now returned to Pacific Division. Just the air unit is overhead, and the air commander in that LAPD helicopter is communicating now on the LA County Sheriff's Malibu frequency, talking they have this interoperational radio system where different police agencies can talk to one another. I just switched over here at the assignment desk from listening to an LAPD frequency to an LA County Sheriff's frequency, and I heard the same voice of that air commander now talking on the LA County Sheriff's frequency, speaking to the dispatcher of LA County Sheriff, saying, hey, listen, if any of your units are in the area on PCH near Webb Way, we have a box truck that we were chasing, we meaning the LAPD, and if any of your units are interested, they are welcome to engage and go into pursuit of this vehicle. They are currently sort of negotiating that right now with the dispatchers at the LA County Sheriff's Department, trying to get deputies behind this vehicle. The deputies, they wanted to get a little bit more information. What's this, the want on this? They said it's stolen, just one person inside, no information about any weapons. So it does look like LA County sheriffs are interested in perhaps taking this off the hands of the LAPD and going into pursuit of this vehicle. But in the meantime, the LAPD helicopter continues to remain overhead. I'm seeing them on the radar along with several other media airships like SkyCow following this. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 helicopters overhead. So there's really no possibility that this driver would be able to get out of sight from the helicopters overhead. But Kalina, no ground units yet have gotten into position to take over this pursuit. Now, of course, this presents another problem. If this driver does stop and get out and run, there is really no law enforcement on the ground here that would be able to catch this person if they went running. Of course, they would certainly vector in law enforcement units on the ground as fast as they could. But right now, it looks like there is nobody behind this truck. The LAPD units are quite far now. They're back in the Pacific Palisades area. And as you can see, we are heading through Malibu right now. This is actually, Malibu Beach. We already passed Malibu Lagoon. So this driver continues to head westbound with really no idea where they are going. Before we have seen pursuits where drivers go back and forth in an area that they're familiar with. We know that this pursuit started further north on the 405, north of the 10. So they're not anywhere near that, and they have made no attempts to make a U-turn and head back into LAPD territory. So it's anybody's guess right now what this driver is thinking about, whether or not they're trying to keep the material inside of this delivery van. That was the target if they were trying to steal this van. We know that the want on it is a stolen vehicle. But again, we don't know what's inside, but we do know they're just saying one driver right now. And it continues here westbound on PCH as it heads deeper and deeper into Malibu, still waiting for LA County sheriffs from the Malibu station to get into position.
Well, and you can see we saw the change in the forecast by watching this. I mean, what was it, 15 minutes or so ago, 20 minutes or so ago in the other area of PCH, we had what looked like drizzle. Now we have rain. This is a very dangerous pursuit right now, especially at speeds of 60 miles per hour going down this stretch. I believe this driver just passed Legacy Park. We are getting closer and closer to Pepperdine University as they continue in the northbound direction here. Actually, looks like we might have just passed Pepperdine. That was that big green hillside that you saw on the right side of your screen. So as this driver continues in the northbound direction, I mean, this is right around the area where we had some heavy mudslides that shut down the road at one point. Right now, that doesn't seem to be the case, but you can see as the driver is driving along, the impact on the hillside there. We just saw some cones that are up in the opposite direction, also some on that right-hand side too. You can see that they're still continuing their work out there and possibly have some additional closures in effect because of the mudslides we've seen in the past and the activity in the past as well. You can see all of that over on the shoulder right now, just passing a gas station as they continue in the northbound direction. But we've seen these pursuits several times, of course, but on PCH, I'm not quite sure when the last time I saw one like this, but especially here now you can see this was the area that was supposed to be reopened. At one point it was entirely shut down. Now it looks like just that one lane is open, which is the lane this driver is going through. And this was all because of the slides that we saw because of the rain and the impact of the rain. And so now that we're seeing the rain coming on through right now, drenching this area with speed still pretty high. I mean, 50 miles per hour to go in a box truck is extremely dangerous. You don't see a lot of people. This isn't an area where you can see a lot of people crossing the street or going to school or anything like that. It's not a walkable area, so we don't really have to worry about people possibly, getting hit or anything like that. It's just the danger to the other drivers in the area. And then obviously if this driver decides to, go a little bit faster with the rainy conditions, it could be even more dangerous.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, you are really touching on a really important thing here, Kalina, and that is also just the danger involving the size of a vehicle like this being involved in a pursuit. The maneuverability is very low. This is a very tight road. There is not a lot of room to maneuver, and this driver has already shown a propensity to go into oncoming lanes of traffic, go onto the shoulder, and now, as you'd mentioned, also it's getting wet out there. There's rain, the roads are slick. You can see right there with SkyCal, there is definitely fresh rain on the road there. You can see it. There's water coming off the back wheels. So there are definitely parts of PCH that are going to get slick. And this driver, it can't make any sudden moves with a truck this size. It's not going to be able to turn or stop on a dime. And you can see how narrow, we've already talked about how narrow PCH is. And thankfully, this is not an area where there are a lot of pedestrians, but there is no room to maneuver. There are some curves here. Some of them are very difficult to take if you're going too fast. There are hills where you maybe not be able to see what's in front of you. Now, I'm sure that this driver is up a little higher than most other cars because this box truck sits up higher, so they'll have a better view. But still, this is a dangerous proposition. And now you can see already going up to 70 miles an hour westbound on PCH in the rain in a truck this size is very dangerous for everyone involved. Now, I do have a little bit of an update as to law enforcement. Malibu, I should say LA County sheriffs from the Malibu station still have not engaged yet. They are working with LAPD. They're trying to find units that they can possibly engage. The watch commander still has some questions for LAPD about this pursuit. As you can see there, SkyCal being able to zoom in very clearly now with max zoom on the lens. That driver there looks like they're wearing a dark blue jacket, described as an adult man. No one else in the cab right now. But still, 65 miles an hour on, 11:50 in the morning on PCH. There is traffic here, and there is great concern from law enforcement about the danger involved in a vehicle this size traveling at that speed from a driver who very clearly has willingness to put himself and other people in danger in order to get away. So, Kalina, I mean, we are now, I'm looking at the radar. I think we're probably looking at the exact same radar here. We are now going through the Horn of Malibu, getting close to Zuma Beach. There are some more curves here and hills in this area that this driver is going to have to negotiate. Maybe seeing a little less cars on the road here. If he continues on this, he's going to, end up in the Point Mugu area. I don't know. I thought there might have been a closure on PCH. Perhaps that may have opened already. Yeah, now we're just continuing to watch this truck continue westbound on PCH right now. No signs of stopping yet this afternoon.
So that closure that you mentioned, that is supposed to be open. However, crews do tend to close down roadways in anticipation of the rain, especially because we've already have seen damaged hillsides, mudslides, debris, rocks, all of that stuff because of the past month or what seems like the entire year. We've had the storms that we've seen. So right now we have partial closures in certain spots, which you saw about 10 minutes or so ago, where some of those lanes were blocked off, but not the entire roadway off limits. However, as this driver continues northbound, and I'm checking the traffic overlay that I have right now with the weather, there does look like there is a heavier spot along PCH. That's the yellow in the traffic map there. So if the driver continues in that direction, you will see heavier rainfall, which could make this even more dangerous. We always have to think about this when it comes to these pursuits, and this is something that officers have to think about as well, is public safety, is their own safety too, safety of other people on the roadway because of these conditions. I have a feeling that's one of the many reasons most likely that they're stepping back just a little bit. And this driver, I mean, a box truck going 65, 68, 70 miles per hour is extremely dangerous, especially in the rain. I can't tell you how many times for a morning commute, and I believe that sign just said the speed limit was 50 there, so well over the speed limit. But so many times during, the commute time where we see drivers lose control in box trucks because of the rain, because of driving too fast. So this could be extremely dangerous as they continue northbound because of the rain and everything else. Right now, speeds at about 71 miles per hour at certain times. We have 65, so we're kind of going between that 60 and 70 mile per hour mark as this driver just continue here in the stolen box truck pursuit. If you're just joining us here on KCAL News, we've been watching this stolen box truck, this driver taking off here on PCH. Mark has more information as far as where it started, but we have seen dangerous conditions because of the rain, but because it is closer and closer to the noon hour, and because of this specific spot, we're not seeing, the pedestrian traffic that we would see in downtown. You can see the water just lifting on the back of the vehicle because of how rainy and how dangerous it is out here this morning. So, Mark, I know you've been making calls and listening to scanner traffic. Have you learned any more about when other officers could possibly fall? I know you were saying at one point you counted, 5 choppers overhead. You mentioned sheriffs were taking over the pursuit, but LAPD chopper was still going to stay overhead to give us the view.
Yeah, so you know what? The radio traffic has gone conspicuously silent here. Have not heard a lot of radio communications from any law enforcement, helicopter, or anything from the LA County Sheriff's Department in the Malibu area. And as a matter of fact, as I check the radar here, I've noticed that the LAPD airship has sort of disappeared off the radar. I'm not sure if that's because they turned back into LAPD territory or if they're just flying so low that they're not being picked up on the public radar system here. That that might very well be the possibility, because I'm looking for them anywhere here and I don't see them. Well, actually, no, I do see them. The LAPD airship is now back. They turned around. They left this. So really, there is no law enforcement agency tracking this right now. This is simply media airships like SkyCal are now following this. LA County sheriffs from the Malibu station have not agreed to engage yet in this pursuit. So really, there is no law enforcement eyes on this driver right now as they continue to head westbound through the Malibu area. You know, we are now past the Horn of Malibu as we continue west into Ventura. Now, there's a possibility that perhaps Ventura County sheriffs might want to pick this up if it continues to head west into and past Point Mugu. But right now, it does not look like the Malibu deputies in the Malibu station want to engage right now. That's possible just because they may not have any down in the area, and getting down there might be like an extended proposition in order to catch up to this. It's possible maybe the CHP might want to do this. I suppose if PCH is sometimes their jurisdiction, they can consider that a highway. But it looks like right now this driver on their own, as they continue in the rain on westbound PCH, you had mentioned it's just getting more and more heavy in terms of the water coming down on PCH. This is going to make the roads slick. It has been a couple of days, almost a week since it rained, so there's probably a lot of oil on the roads. This is the first rain that we've had for a couple of days. That makes it a little bit more slick, certainly in the first minutes after the rain begins. But this driver does look like they're acting a little calmer. Speeds reasonable, still a little high for, I think, safety in the rain here. But at least they haven't shown that high propensity to shift lanes and go around vehicles, go on the shoulder that we saw before when this was an active pursuit just about a half an hour ago. The want on this box truck from the LAPD is that it's a stolen vehicle. They did get the license plate before they backed off, so they do know the license plate exactly. So if they needed to track down this vehicle or put out an all points bulletin to track it later, they certainly would be able to. And apparently they did get a good look at the driver. One of the officers involved did give a good description of that driver, including clothing description. And they described that person as an adult man. So they do have some information about this person. But right now, it does not look like there is really an aggressive attempt by any law enforcement right now to take this over and re-engage it as a pursuit. But I can tell you, SkyCal is going to continue to follow this and see where this ends up. If this driver does jump out, we do know that oftentimes law enforcement in their dispatch centers do watch KCAL. I have talked to dispatchers in both LAPD and LA County Sheriff's dispatch centers that said that part of their information gathering process is to watch television stations and news shows online and on TV like KCAL as we cover these pursuits, because our cameras, SkyCal's camera is so good. It provides such a good look at what is going on. And, you know, they don't have in their dispatch center sometimes a live feed from their own helicopters. So this could provide information just sort of in a roundabout way to law enforcement as to the status of this pursuit. If it gets more dangerous, they may want to re-engage. But right now, this driver continuing westbound, going deeper and deeper now out of Malibu into possibly the Ventura County Sheriff's area. We have not had a pursuit covered in Ventura for quite some time. So, you know, we're not really sure if the Ventura County Sheriffs really want to take this one over yet. I have not heard any radio traffic from them about this. It would be up to Malibu sheriffs, LA County Sheriffs, to communicate to them, hey, this vehicle leaving our territory, heading into yours.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. And we are going to continue our coverage of the stolen box truck pursuit with our very own Amy Johnson for KCAL News at noon.
All right, Kalina, thank you. We are continuing to follow this breaking news. If you are just joining us for KCAL News at noon, you are seeing live here a stolen box truck from Lowe's. There is one man inside this cab. He has been going upwards around 60, even close to 70 miles per hour on PCH. It is raining out there. We're showing you on the right side of your screen some video from a little earlier where we watched as he's squeezed on the side there to try to get around this traffic, but was blocked in by another box truck that was right up ahead. But on the left side of your screen, that is a live look at this truck. You can see plenty of water spraying out from these tires because there was a lot of water out there on the roadway because it has been raining. Again, this is a pursuit that is now being conducted by airships. There are no cruisers on the ground right now. This is often done in an effort to try to slow that driver down. Of course, PCH can be a dangerous stretch of roadway, and so they think oftentimes if the driver doesn't see those cruisers right behind it, it may in fact slow down a bit, but they are keeping a very close eye from up above, the airships there. But again, this is a time mark when it's tough for officers that would be following it because this isn't the type of vehicle that you would actually do a pit maneuver. Also, spike strips are tricky in an area like this, and certainly could be very dangerous because a truck that lost its tires could certainly lose control and would be very dangerous to other drivers.
Yeah, absolutely, Amy. A pit maneuver out of the question completely for a vehicle like this. First of all, we don't know how much cargo is inside of this box truck, but even if it was empty, this would be wildly dangerous. It has a high center of gravity. The likelihood of it tipping over, even if they were able to get a successful pit maneuver, the amount of mass required to spin this box truck around would be enormous, and I don't think that there would be a sheriff's or LAPD patrol car that would be able to do it. Next, as you had mentioned, spike strips. Again, that presents a very dangerous proposition. If the driver loses the ability to control this box truck, so much more dangerous than a passenger vehicle just because of the size, its inability to maneuver. That probably is not going to be an option either. I think that very likely if any law enforcement do re-engage, I think it's only going to be the Ventura County Sheriffs, if anyone at this point. They are going to have to wait this one out and just follow it and hope that this driver gets out. Now, this, as you had mentioned, this pursuit originally started with the LAPD. This was over on the 10 freeway near the 405 when they went into active pursuit of this box truck. They called it a stolen vehicle, one driver inside. The LAPD followed it, backed off when it was on PCH heading through the Pacific Palisades area, and then followed it with their helicopter and communicated to LA County sheriffs in the Malibu area, do any of the patrol deputies out there want to take this one over from us? This is leaving our jurisdiction. That's what the LAPD helicopter said. And it looks like the watch commander in the Malibu station for LA County Sheriff said, we don't have any units in the area or we're unable to engage in this pursuit. So the LAPD airship said, I am so far out of my jurisdiction, I'm not able to continue following this. They went back into LAPD territory. There was no LA County airship overhead either. So the only airships following this box truck right now are media airships like SkyCal. Now, SkyCal has plenty of fuel and a really great camera on it. So we are going to continue to track this. I apologize if the signal is frozen. We are moving along the southbound side of Point Mugu State Park. There might be some transmission problems here. We're going to try and get SkyCal tuned back in as we try and move to another mountaintop. You know, SkyCal has a transmitter on the bottom of the helicopter, and it sends a signal to we have about 5 mountaintops in Southern California. The operator in the back of SkyCal just has to point that transmitter and lock it into one of those mountaintops. And sometimes during the course of a pursuit like this, it's very unpredictable where the helicopter may end up. One of those mountaintops might get eclipsed by another mountain, so we're unable to transmit to them. So right now, I can tell you that the operator in SkyCal is working right now to try and get that signal back in. It looks like they were able to get it. And here we are, live pictures again on the left side of your screen of that box truck as it continues its transition on the southbound of Point Mugu State Park, heading in very close to Naval Air Station Point Mugu. That's the next landmark that's coming up here as they continue to move west along PCH. This box truck has been on PCH for the better part of about 35-40 minutes. They got off the 10 right in Santa Monica, jumped right on PCH, and went all the way westbound. And we have seen, as you can see on the right side of your screen there, this was a much earlier, this propensity to just get around traffic. This is not a maneuverable vehicle, and yet this driver drove in the center divider here and was on the side, drove through the mud several times in order to get around vehicles. As you can see here, very dangerous. We talked about it. how on PCH there may not be a lot of pedestrians, but there certainly is a lot of cars, very narrow, tight spaces, not a place where you want to do aggressive lane changes to try and get around passenger vehicles, but this driver decided they wanted to do it. Now they've been driving a lot more calmly here in sort of a more reasonable fashion. Still a little bit fast for the conditions because, as you can see, Amy, there's rain on the lens of SkyCal, and it's only getting heavier as rain is forecasted to continue all the way through tonight into tomorrow morning. But you can see with SkyCal's tight zoom, there is one driver in there wearing a heavy coat. They described him as an adult man. No information about him having any weapons here. But as it continues here now, over 40 minutes now heading westbound into Ventura County, this driver, no intention of giving up so far.
Yes, Mark, and they've gone through different jurisdictions with like the Lost Hills Sheriff Station, CHP, and now they are coming up to another area with soon they'll be up in the Port Hueneme area. You know, going up this way, PCH kind of ends there, and you're kind of shifted over to some smaller stretches of roadway through some farmland areas, certainly smaller streets, and it'll be interesting to see if this driver is going to be able to continue. Now, as you see, our screen here on the left is just now picking back up, and we are having some signal issues. This is an area that does have a little trouble there with reception, but we are trying to continue to effort this live look for you as we watch this driver. And Mark, you know, you were talking about how this driver has been able to really maneuver in this truck. And I mean, this is a nice sized truck. And so you have to imagine that this person has some experience driving a large vehicle like this, because they've done a very good job. We're showing you on the right side of the screen how he was able to maneuver through all of this traffic. At times he was on the side, on the shoulder, very tight area, but now there is no ground unit close behind this truck. And so they were hoping that this would slow down the driver. That often is the case because they are very limited on what they can do to stop this driver not being able to use spike strips or a pit maneuver. Now, we are going to stay on top of this. We are going to bring you updates as we get them, but we do want to continue on. Paul, thank you. And we continue to follow breaking news, the pursuit of that stolen box truck from Lowe's. We've been watching this for close to an hour at this point, but you're watching here live here. You can see this is that Lowe's box truck, small stretch of roadway here, and this was stolen again about an hour ago. We've been having some signal issues. It's freezing again, but we are trying to give you the best look at this pursuit that is happening. We do know that ground crews had pulled back, way back on this pursuit, and only airships were overhead keeping a close eye. I know Mark has been following this since the beginning. And Mark, have you been getting some new information about perhaps how they may try to get this driver to stop?
Yeah, so this is now passing into its third jurisdiction. We are now just on the east side of Naval Air Station Point Mugu, which is now leading us to go into Ventura County Sheriff's territory. Now, I've been monitoring their radio frequencies to see if anyone at Ventura County Sheriff's or perhaps Oxnard PD is talking about this, and so far I have not heard any radio traffic at all in terms of anyone who is interested in possibly taking over this pursuit. As we had mentioned, this originally started with LAPD's jurisdiction when they went into pursuit of that box truck. They called it a stolen vehicle. It passed through Pacific Palisades. That's when they decided they wanted to give it up, hopefully to LA County Sheriffs. LA County Sheriffs did not have any units in position that they were able to take this, nor a helicopter that they could get overhead. So the LAPD helicopter returned to its jurisdiction, and this box truck continued westbound. It went all the way through Malibu and is now here coming out the western side of Point Mugu State Park, still on PCH. And as you had mentioned, you know, this signal that we're getting from SkyCal, it does freeze occasionally. That's because we are currently working to tune in that signal into a different mountaintop and get a better stable signal. This is sort of a mountainous area. Hopefully it should get better as we get into a more flatter area of Ventura, but it is pretty rugged terrain where SkyCal was flying. So we're going to keep following this, let you know when we get a better signal. Amy, I'm going to toss it back to you, get some more information hopefully from Ventura County Sheriffs.
All right, Mark, and as you mentioned, we are going to continue to follow this, but we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Thank you. We want to get back to our breaking news, that pursuit of the stolen box truck from Lowe's. We've been watching this for about an hour now, and for much of this pursuit, there were no cruisers on the ground. This was something that the law enforcement was only following by air. But Mark, we are hearing now that there are some cruisers actually down on the ground after this driver now.
Yes. So, Amy, this driver, whether they know it or not, has just made a very significant decision that may affect their ultimate fate here, and that is getting on the 101 freeway. This has now placed them squarely in the jurisdiction of the California Highway Patrol, and a California Highway Patrol unit has just appeared. You can see it there in the lower part of your screen. Now, the CHP, one of the most aggressive agencies in Southern California in terms of chasing pursuits. They have a very strong propensity to keep their lights and sirens on, and they generally do not go into tracking mode or surveillance mode unless the danger is extremely high and they have to back out to make sure that this driver calms down. Now, that first CHP unit has now appeared behind this box truck. We have not seen lights and sirens yet. My bet is that the CHP officer that is in that patrol car is communicating with his or her dispatch center in order to get some more backup. And when there are a few more CHP units in position, they will go lights and sirens and into active pursuit again in this box truck. Now, this originally started about 50 minutes ago near the 10 freeway and the 405 in the Santa Monica area. And that's when LAPD went into pursuit, calling this a stolen vehicle. It went onto PCH westbound through the Malibu area into Ventura, and it proceeded northbound on, I think it was, let's see, what street was this? I'm trying to see here. Maybe one of the northbound streets here through Oxnard, and now is on the 101 heading eastbound back into LA County. Now, CHP will continue to chase or follow this box truck as long as it remains on a freeway, and sometimes when it gets off of a freeway, they will continue to chase it. Usually they will only give up a pursuit like this if they is an extended amount of time on surface streets. What you're looking at on the right side of your screen there is video from a little bit earlier when this driver exhibited some very dangerous driving, getting around vehicles that were in their way. But here also now you're seeing just a few moments ago when that first CHP unit followed that box truck onto the 101 eastbound into LA County. And now this pursuit, or what will very likely be a pursuit very soon, heading through the Camarillo area, Amy.
Yes, and Mark, as we've been mentioning, it is a little more difficult for officers to stop a driver in a big box truck like this because they can't do the pit maneuver, and using spike strips is very dangerous when they're on a small road like they were on PCH, very dangerous. And you know, it'll be interesting to see how they go about getting this driver to stop. Of course, this is a stolen truck, a Lowe's truck. We don't know how much gas was in this truck. But the one thing that I have noticed as we've been following this is that this driver has really been able to handle this truck. We're showing you on the right side of the screen some video from earlier. He was able to really maneuver through traffic, also on the shoulder, the right side there, just really squeezing through traffic and really seemed to have a good handle on this truck. We're seeing that right now on the side there, but it'll be interesting to see how long he can keep control of this truck and whether or not he will have to deal with spike strips. We do not expect that they will even attempt a pit maneuver on a vehicle this large. But the CHP now in control of this pursuit. As Mark was mentioning, there were a lot of different agencies as this truck was going through, from LAPD, Lost Hills, also Ventura County, and now back on the 101. And now we know CHP is after this truck, but they are keeping their distance, something that they often do, to try to keep this driver in control and to keep them from getting their speeds too high. And at this point, this driver going around 60, 70, and again, these roadways are wet, making it a little more dangerous. But a lot of these drivers that are nearby don't even know that this truck is stolen or that there are officers in pursuit of this truck. So that sometimes makes it dangerous when these drivers try to make some really aggressive lane changes and pick up the speed. But right now, this driver, Mark, is, you know, going about the speed limit and seems to be in well control.
Yeah, you had mentioned that this driver does appear to know how to handle a truck of this size. I would agree with you. They've been able to make some pretty nimble moves in a truck this size. It is not easy, certainly if you've never been in a box truck like this. Driving it is not something that you can just hop in and start doing. So this driver may have some experience here, but there are a lot of unknowns, Amy, right now. We don't know if there is any cargo in the back of this truck. That could affect its handling and its center of gravity. We have no idea how much fuel was inside. We also don't know the mental condition of the driver, if they are under the influence of anything or their intentions here. But we do know that they have shown a propensity to drive dangerously without the regard for other drivers, going into oncoming traffic, making erratic moves, and of course, certainly not surrendering to police. There have been lights and sirens behind this box truck before. This driver not surrendering right now. But continuing on the 101 South, now heading through the Camarillo area, you had possibly mentioned the idea of spike strips. That could possibly be one way that law enforcement could bring this to an end. But having a vehicle with disabled tires of this size could be very dangerous. That's going to be a very critical decision by the watch commander whether or not they want to engage in something like that. And, certainly a pit maneuver out of the question. A vehicle of this size will not be able to be pitted by a patrol car the size of a CHP unit that's behind it right now. So one of the best bets that they can do right now is hopefully get this driver to surrender on their own, perhaps realize that there is no way that they can escape. There are many helicopters overhead. There's no way anybody is going to lose eyes on this truck. It's not like they're going to be able to outrun an airship or outrun a patrol car. So really the clock is ticking on this driver as to what they are going to do here, whether or not they want to end this peacefully or put more lives in danger. They will come to the realization that they are going to be taken into custody at the end of this pursuit and give up. But CHP now going to follow behind. I can listen to them on their Ventura County frequencies talking about getting more units into position. Ultimately, Amy, I think they're going to probably turn lights and sirens on and engage in a full-blown pursuit here. But they continue to follow behind this box truck at freeway speeds, as you can see here, about 72, 73 miles an hour on the eastbound 101. As this driver continues, they're going to head into the Thousand Oaks area. They could possibly make a turn onto, the northbound 23. That's still a few miles ahead. They've got to head through Newbury Park first, but they now are heading back to the area where this pursuit originally started in L.A.
And they are in the Camarillo area now, just getting into the Camarillo area, Mark. And oftentimes law enforcement will say they've got nothing but time. As long as this driver seems to be following the rules of the road and not putting people in extreme danger, they will let this driver just continue to go. Oftentimes they back off when they're driving erratically. And if they feel like a lot of people are in danger, we did see some of that erratic driving a little earlier. We're showing you that on the right side of your screen. But at this point, this driver who seems to be handling this box truck, going the speed limit, doesn't seem to be making a lot of aggressive moves. They will just give it some time. And we often hear that when a pursuit is taking place on a freeway, it is a much safer environment as opposed to surface streets where you've got civilians, just people out on the sidewalk, people walking. You've got those red lights, you've got the stop signs, and it becomes a lot more dangerous. But on the freeway, most of the cars are going the same speed limit as this driver, and this driver does seem to be in well control of the truck. But again, you're seeing on the right side when this driver was maneuvering around all of that traffic, really desperate to get away from law enforcement, and seem to handle this truck just fine, Mark.
Yeah, and one of the things, the SkyCal keeps zooming in here, you have mentioned that this is a Lowe's truck. Our assignment desk has actually reached out to the Lowe's Corporation and asked them if they know about their truck that may have been stolen. They said a report has been filed with Lowe's headquarters, and they're trying to locate actually which Lowe's location this truck belongs to, and if it was stolen from an actual Lowe's location or if it was out in the field when that happened. But Lowe's, the corporation, is aware that one of their trucks here is involved in this pursuit, and they are trying to track down with their own people the status of the truck and where it was when it was taken. I am continuing to listen to the Ventura County frequencies for the CHP. They are still coordinating, getting units here. No talk of any type of way of ending this pursuit, like we had mentioned with spike strips or a pit maneuver. But this driver continues to head through on the 101. Not as much rain, it looks like here. Perhaps the rain was more to the west which is good news for drivers here. And you notice that sometimes SkyCal's signal is breaking up. Occasionally, that's because we are going through the mountains again. SkyCal may have to get some altitude here in order to hit the receive sites that we have in Southern California to get a stable signal. But the camera on SkyCal has a very strong zoom, so we should be able to keep eyes on this. We won't lose it in all of the traffic that's down on the 101 right now. You can see not too many cars there, and I actually don't see that CHP unit behind it. May have dropped way back now before trying to engage. So once again, I also just heard on the frequency, one of the CHP units said, "What law enforcement helicopter is following this?" And the dispatcher said, "Be advised, there aren't any. That's a media airship." I think they were talking about SkyCal following this. So at least one of the ground units there was looking up at SkyCal and wondering if that was a law enforcement helicopter. And no, it's actually our news helicopter following this very closely, making sure that we don't lose eyes on this. But right now, it looks like about 55, 60 miles an hour, according to the odometer on SkyCal. It's got a laser-activated odometer that we can track, see how fast this vehicle is going, now showing almost 80 miles an hour on the eastbound 101, southbound 101, heading now into the Newbury Park area. Amy.
Yeah, Mark, we did see that driver pull into the slower lane. Speeds did seem to dip there. He was going over what we call the Camarillo grade, which is a steep incline for anybody who ever takes that stretch of roadway, and certainly did lower the speeds there. It is a steep climb for anybody who drives that way, and he did, again, we've been talking about how he's been following the rules of the road. He did move over to the slower lanes as his speeds did drop, but then getting over that hillside there, he's picked up the pace here, getting up to 80 miles an hour. And as you were mentioning, there is not a lot of rain on the roadways there, and certainly that is a good thing. But again, this driver just following the rules of the road. We do not see one of those cruisers close behind, and that may be, in fact, why the speeds have been staying relatively lower. But when we did have a wider shot, it did appear that there was a cruiser somewhat back. There's another one right there, jumping on right now, Mark.
Yeah, that's it. So that CHP unit was definitely waiting right there for that box truck to pass. Not sure what happened to the other one that was before. Perhaps they didn't have enough gas in the gas tank to follow this one, or perhaps this is more of a senior officer. I'm not really sure. I've not heard any radio traffic coming from the CHP about this, but you can see that driver now has, that patrol car now has eyes on this box truck. They very definitely seem like they want to follow this, but they are hanging back. We don't see lights and sirens yet here, so there doesn't seem a willingness yet to engage in an actual pursuit mode here. But there is no doubt that the driver of that box truck saw that CHP unit on the side of the freeway. They must know law enforcement is still behind them. Now you can see this box truck pretty close to two other box trucks here driving. That's not a very safe way to do it. Here we have, that looks like Ventura County sheriffs now engaging also. We're not sure if that's just a coincidence that they're going to come up behind CHP here, but this pursuit, this driver here is going to exit Ventura County Sheriff's territory fairly soon, so I can't imagine that a Ventura County Sheriff's deputy would want to engage as it was leaving their jurisdiction, but you never know. There may be a decision by the watch commander to take this over. But you can see this was there was actually a collision right there. That box truck collided with that second box truck. A few pieces came off there. Very lucky that neither truck lost control. Not sure if the law enforcement units behind saw that, but there is now debris on the 101 from that collision.
Yeah, he just really tried to make that lane change a little too tight. Interesting that that truck now following and seemed like it was trying to pick up a little speed and get a little closer to the truck, maybe to motion, hey, you clipped my truck here, because it's not necessarily clear to any of the drivers on the road that this truck is actually being pursued by law enforcement, that it is a stolen truck. So this truck just got clipped, this Mr. Tire truck. We can't see the damage there on the truck, but we certainly saw some parts fly off of the truck. It should have been up in that front right side there, the passenger side of the truck that got clipped. And we're watching as they are coming up to, there it is on the right side of your screen. You're seeing a replay of that where you saw a couple of those pieces just go flying off, and then you see that second truck. See, he's pulling up to the side. I'm guessing that he may be motioning to that truck driver saying, hey, you need to pull over.
Yeah, this Mr. Tire driver very clearly is obviously upset and concerned that they were just involved in a hit and run and clearly had no idea that this Lowe's truck was being involved in a pursuit, must have pulled up alongside and motioned to that driver, hey, you just struck me, but was unable to follow him. That looks like this box truck now getting off, now maybe getting back on. And what we're seeing here slowing down because this pursuit, this fleeing driver just noticed a CHP unit, but that CHP unit may have been handling, oh no, it looks like they may get started here. They may have been handling what looks like a tow truck operation down there on the side of the freeway. There are the other two law enforcement units, the CHP unit and the Ventura County Sheriff, trailing behind. But now, a collision a second time. But this time it looked purposeful. That Lowe's box truck purposely may have run into or perhaps just collided with the rear end of the Mr.
Tire is trying to block him in, Mark. He's trying to get this Lowe's truck to stop. I think that's why he did that. And the Lowe's truck was saying, no, you're not going to stop me on this roadway. I'm going to crash right into the back of you. But it looks like this Mr. Tire is trying to get involved in this pursuit because he may not know, or this driver may not know, that this truck is being pursued by law enforcement. Look, they're getting off of the highway now.
I think you're right. Yeah, they're now on Highway 23 here, but I think that you are right. As far as this Mr. Tire driver knows, this is just a hit and run situation that's going on here. This Mr. Tire driver may not even know that there is law enforcement behind and may be trying to get this Lowe's box truck driver to pull over and say, look, you have been involved here in a hit and run accident. You have damaged my truck. You cannot flee the scene here. And I think you're right. That Mr. Tire driver may have slammed on his brakes in an effort to get this Lowe's box truck to stop. But now speeds going up higher, and this Mr. Tire truck right on the tail of this box truck here. I got to imagine that the law enforcement presence behind has got to come up and sort this out. This is getting more and more dangerous by the minute. I can tell you law enforcement would never recommend a situation like this. Do not chase a hit and run driver and certainly do not make aggressive moves to get them to run off the side of the road. But what we are seeing here, this is quite frankly amazing, Amy, that these two box trucks now engaged in almost what I would call a road rage situation where clearly one driver trying to get another driver to stop. This is fairly remarkable what we're seeing here, and I hope that law enforcement gets involved fairly quickly.
Now, I have to say, Mark, he's making an aggressive move there, heading to the fast lane shoulder there. This is the 23, and they will be heading towards Moore Park, and then eventually we'll turn it. Oh, it looks like if we can get a little closer.
Again.
Yes.
That Mr. Tire driver is trying to get the Lowe's box truck driver to stop. And now it looks like that Lowe's box truck driver is now had enough and is getting off of the freeway. I don't think, Amy, in this area that they are going to be able to meet up again. They are getting off on Jan's Road. This may or may not be able to, that Mr. Tire driver may lose sight of this.
Well, he can get back on the 23 here if he chooses to. There's going to be another entrance coming up, but it looks like he is avoiding that, making that right turn here and going away from that entrance that he could have used to get back on the 23. I'm looking to see if any of those cruisers are behind, but it doesn't look like.
There is one.
Is there one?
It looked like the CHP unit got off and continues to track this box truck, but still no lights and sirens, Amy.
And, what that driver and that Mr. Tire truck was doing was certainly dangerous. We certainly understand that he was frustrated that this truck did clip the front of his truck. I don't think that driver was aware. We're showing you now how he made that quick lane turn and lane change and clipped that truck. And then that truck continued to follow, tried to stop him there, but the Lowe's truck just rammed right into the back of him. But he was certainly trying to get this truck to stop, and it did not work. That Lowe's truck got off of the highway of 101, got back on. They were able to meet again. That Mr. Tire truck again trying to get this Lowe's truck to stop. And then after the next little collision there, he exited off of the 23. We're watching on the left side of your screen that this truck now is in a smaller, looks like a more residential, trying to see here. This is off Herbs, and this is certainly going to be an area where you're going to have more people, you're going to have more cars, slower traffic there. And we can certainly see that the roadways are wet, so it makes it a little more dangerous, Mark, but certainly an interesting turn of events in this one.
Yeah, that was pretty wild, Amy. I cannot think of a time that we have had two box trucks engaged in a road rage type situation in the middle of a pursuit. This is certainly one we have not seen before, and we've seen plenty of pursuits here in Southern California. As you had mentioned, we are now in a residential area, a neighborhood that is northeast of the intersection of the 101 and the 23 in the Thousand Oaks area. There's a lot of twisting streets here. I do not see that CHP unit now behind this box truck. It appears that they may have dropped so far behind that they are not tracking it anymore. This is quite far off the freeway. CHP may not want to track it if it goes too far off of a Southern California freeway. But now this box truck in a neighborhood nowhere near this pursuit started, way back in the Santa Monica area. And it looks like I do not see any damage to the front of that truck. Zooming in there closely, it looks like this box truck here may have escaped damage. We don't have any intel right now on that Mr. Tire truck. It has sort of disappeared. It continued back north on the 23. We're not sure if law enforcement is going to try and reach out to them and see if they can track them down. We may try to track them down because we got off of the truck. Our assignment desk may be trying to call them to get that driver's perspective about what happened. But Amy, you had mentioned this is not something that any law enforcement would ever recommend if you were involved in a hit and run accident to not try and chase the person who was responsible for it or make any aggressive moves. But that's what that Mr. Tire driver did anyway, and was unable to stop this Lowe's box truck. And now as we continue, still pretty high speeds, 40 to 60 miles an hour on surface streets here in the Thousand Oaks area, continuing now sort of in a southbound direction, possibly back towards the 101. If this driver continues this way, they could reach the freeway and then take either north or south, depending upon which on-ramp they get on.
And I think, Mark, these CHP officers saw the desperation in this driver when he refused to stop for that other truck, and things obviously ramped up here. And we're watching as his driving is not that composed as it was earlier. He's been in the center and seems to be less in control of this truck. We are watching his speed seem a little higher at this point, and he does not have the same control of this truck, which certainly makes it a lot more dangerous because he is in a more area that has more businesses and homes, and he seems to be making more aggressive turns. Now we're watching as it looks like I'm trying to see if that is Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Yeah, he is on Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Just made that right there.
That's correct, Amy. And you know, one of the things I just noticed when SkyCal zoomed in tight, when at high speeds this box truck makes a sharp move, the entire cargo area shifts to the left or the right. It just highlights how top heavy a vehicle like this can be and its propensity to tip over if there is a very sharp turn. Now, hopefully this driver is aware of the sort of dynamics of a truck like this. Now, squeezing in between a bus and another car, looks like a van. Not sure if there's any collision there, but going right through a red light, now making a turn here. It looks like onto Rancho Road in Thousand Oaks. And it looks like if they stay in this lane, you can see by the painted words on the street, we're going to get on the northbound 101. Unclear if he's ready to do that, but it looks like we are getting back on the freeway again here. Northbound 101 back towards Ventura, the Thousand Oaks area, Newberry Park. Looks like this driver now heading back the way they came.
Absolutely, Mark, and we can see the stretch of the 101 there is not too crowded at this point, this time in the afternoon, 12:43. Again, if you were just joining us, this is a pursuit that's been going on for about an hour and a half or so. This is a stolen Lowe's truck that began near the 10 and the 405 when the LAPD started this pursuit. It went up Pacific Coast Highway, went through Oxnard, came back down to 101. At one point, it clipped another box truck, and that box truck, as you're seeing there on the right side of your screen, Mr. Tire, that truck actually tried to stop this Lowe's truck from going any further, but the Lowe's driver there was able to get off of the 101 and then went on the 23, was able to get off of the 23 and avoid this driver. But at that point, it did not appear that the driver of the Mr. Tire truck had any idea that this Lowe's truck was stolen and being pursued by the CHP. and was then unable to keep up with the truck once it got off. And we have been watching now on the left side of your screen, the truck still going. It is heading northbound on the 101. And Mark, we've been talking about the fact that a truck this size, they cannot do a pit maneuver, and spike trips are very unlikely.
Yeah, you're right. There is no way to do a pit maneuver here. As you said, spike trips very dangerous to have a blown tire or multiple tires disabled on a box truck like this. But Amy, I just got some new intel. I'm listening to the California Highway Patrol talk. They very clearly saw what happened between those two box trucks, the Mr. Tire truck and this Lowe's box truck that's involved in the pursuit. CHP officers communicating to their dispatch. They say it looks like a private citizen tried to end this pursuit after they were involved in a hit and run. That Mr. Tire truck lost a mirror, and the dispatch said, do we have eyes on that Mr. Tire truck? And a CHP unit said, yes, I am on the 23 northbound, and I am taking it off the freeway now, making contact with the driver. So law enforcement is going to attempt to talk to that driver of the Mr. Tire truck. We're not sure what's going to end up going on with that driver, whether or not they're going to face any charges for what happened here, or if they're just going to talk to them about their involvement in this pursuit, or just their involvement in colliding with this Lowe's truck. But that driver is certainly on the radar of the CHP, and it looks like they are handling it. Now, as far as this primary Lowe's truck, still no lights and sirens behind it, but they did say that they do see it traveling on the northbound 101 back into Ventura County. So CHP continues to monitor it. But Amy, going on now more than I'd say an hour of this pursuit, no lights and sirens behind here, just being tracked by airships as it continues to get pretty rainy and sort of fog, like there's a lot of rain here on the lens. That's active rain on the lens of SkyCal. Weather deteriorating as we head westbound into Ventura.
Yes, and oftentimes law enforcement will keep a distance from these pursuit vehicles, hoping to keep that driver from reaching higher speeds, trying to keep that driver in better control of their vehicle, and ultimately trying to keep people safe on the roadway. We often see when the lights and sirens are up close behind a vehicle, those drivers do pick up their speed. They're anxious to get away. It becomes more reckless and more dangerous. This driver had been in good control of this truck. We were talking earlier about the person may have some experience driving a truck because they were handling it so well until we saw him clip that other truck. And things did seem to get a little out of control when he got onto those surface streets and was trying to make those turns. It did seem that he was struggling to keep this truck under control. But law enforcement often says they prefer a pursuit to be on a highway because you do not have people walking, you do not have red lights, you do not have those stop signs. And other drivers are also all going in the same direction and all going similar speeds, and that is the case right now. However, we are seeing more rain falling, which with those wet roads, things do get a little more dangerous, but we continue to see that those cruisers are not close behind this box truck. And again, this truck stolen earlier this morning. We are coming up on probably close to an hour and a half, closer to 2 hours now. It began near the 10 and the 405 with the LAPD. It has gone up PCH, went down, went across in Oxnard, started heading south on the 101, got off on the 23. That's where that little minor collision there happened with the other truck. Got back on the 101 heading north again towards Thousand Oaks and back up into the Ventura area. This again still CHP's jurisdiction, and they can continue to follow this truck. Mark, it looks like things are slowing down a bit here.
Yeah, well, certainly there's a couple of things that are developing now in what's going on with this box truck. One, the weather is getting worse and worse, and that's not just for this box truck, but also for SkyCal. Weather is closing in, rain is getting heavier, clouds are getting heavier, and I was just listening to our pilot talk to our assignment desk. It's possible that the weather may preclude any helicopters from following this box truck too much further westbound. There is an also issue with fuel. A lot of the airports in the area are doing what's something called IFR, which is instrument flight rules. SkyCal may not be able to land at these airports because of the weather to get fuel, which is going to shorten our fuel time. We may be having to return to Van Nuys Airport for fuel because we have been up for so long. We've been up for much longer than expected here in this pursuit. It's been more than an hour. So SkyCal is going to continue to follow this truck as it continues westbound, northbound on the 101 through the Thousand Oaks area, actually through into the Camarillo area now. But weather just deteriorating, Amy, for everyone, and it's got to affect this driver of this box truck as well. Rain on the windshield is slowing everybody down here. You can see much more traffic on the 101, and it's going to get even more difficult to maneuver around all of these cars as this driver continues to flee.
And they also were going up a bit of a grade that is in that area. They'll soon be going down that grade if they haven't already started. But they do go up, and this stretch of the 101 on either side, you're going to have a steep incline, and then you're going to have a pretty decent drop as well, which I'm guessing now he's going down there and starting to pick up speeds. But again, the rain on the roadway certainly making it a more dangerous situation. But we're watching as speeds are getting up around 60, 65, getting closer to 70. Harder to make this out because of the raindrops on the lens. But this driver staying in the fast lane at this point, and we do not see any cruisers close behind. But this person definitely desperate to get away, and this is certainly going to be one of those wait and see, because I don't think that the officers are going to be able to stop it. This is going to be one of those where he either runs out of gas or unfortunately could crash in a situation like this, but I don't think that they can do anything to actually stop him.
Yeah, there really is not, short of an armored vehicle getting in the way or being boxed in by traffic. This truck is just one of those type of vehicles where the standard pursuit intervention techniques like a pit maneuver or a spike strip is just not warranted, especially in rainy conditions. The danger to everybody involved is so high that law enforcement may not be willing to do something like that. So as you had mentioned, Amy, they are hoping that this driver gets out of the truck. And, you know, I don't know if that's even passed through this driver's mind, being that there has not been law enforcement behind this driver for the better part of an hour, and yet that has not given them any idea to get out and run. They simply seem content to stay in the driver's seat, really with no clear direction. They have not really returned to any specific point in this pursuit. This is the first time that they're sort of doubling back on themselves here, going back into Ventura on the 101. Sometimes we have seen pursuit drivers return to places that they're familiar with, other times not, like this one. There is no clear direction for this driver, so it's anybody's guess. And as you can see now, Sky Cow sort of getting a more distant shot. I believe the pilot can travel no further west into the rain, so we may be losing the shot of this box truck, but we are going to continue with our assignment desk to follow up with law enforcement and make sure we can find out how this ends. And hopefully law enforcement in Ventura will be able to get this driver into custody, Amy.
In dangerous police pursuit of a stolen box truck. On the left, you can see the driver weave in and out of traffic recklessly, trying to get away from officers.
Yeah, and on the right, you see the driver rear ends a work truck, then gets into what looked like a road rage incident with a driver of another box truck. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amy Johnson.
And I'm Juan Fernandez. The pursuit started around 11:30 this morning in the Pacific Palisades area.
Yeah, it went on for some time before coming to a dramatic end. KCAL's Luz Delia Caballero was on the scene when that driver was taken into custody.
It was a wild end to a nearly 2-hour-long chase that started in the West LA area, with the LAPD initially responding to a report of a stolen Lowe's box truck near the 10 and 405. The pursuit continuing through Santa Monica, Pacific Palisades, and into Malibu, eventually ending up in the city of Ventura.
It was a high-speed chase, probably 4 or 5 CHP behind him.
Keith Gearhart says he was nearly hit by the box truck.
He came at me as I left Silvis gas station. He was on the wrong side of the road, driving like a maniac.
But that wasn't the only time the driver behind the wheel of the box truck was driving erratically. Earlier, he clipped a Mr. Tire box truck, and for a while there, it appeared the driver of the Mr. Tire box truck was trying to stop the Lowe's box truck. But the suspect behind the wheel fled after hitting the other box truck again. Eventually, the suspect got into Ventura CHP jurisdiction.
Our officers were able to successfully deploy a spike strip and spike the left front tire of the vehicle.
But that wasn't enough. The suspect kept driving, even through an enforcement stop, ultimately ending up on Ventura Boulevard.
The pursuit continued through the city of Ventura, and ultimately the driver lost control.
That's when we got to the scene.
When the pursuit terminated, Yes, the subject did not want to get out of the vehicle, so our officers used less than lethal shotgun to break out the window.
Our cameras were rolling when the suspect then got out of the truck and started running. Police followed, eventually tackling him to the ground.
We got to change the laws, baby. It's happening too much.
The Lowe's box truck full of appliances and now quite a bit of damage from all